Imagine a bird so light it can walk across the surface of the water, but what happens when the water itself begins to disappear? Picture this. A small brown bird steps delicately onto a lily pad. It doesn't sink. It doesn't falter. It walks across the floating leaves as if they were solid ground, its impossibly long toes distributing its weight so perfectly that it appears to be walking on water itself. This is the African jacana, a creature that has evolved one of nature's most elegant solutions to living in wetland environments. But right now, across Africa, the stages where these water-walking performances unfold are quietly vanishing. The very habitat that makes the jacana's existence possible is disappearing at a rate that threatens to rewrite the future of countless species. The African jacana isn't just another water bird. It's a master of adaptation, a parent known for dramatic role reversals, and an indicator species whose fate is tied directly to the health of freshwater ecosystems. To understand why its decline matters, we need to look at what makes this bird so extraordinary. And what's happening to the world it calls home. Wetlands have always been Earth's secret gardens, places where water and land merge into rich, biodiverse habitats. For the jacana, these aren't just homes, they're entire universes. The floating vegetation provides pathways, hunting grounds, nesting sites, and protection from predators. But over the past 50 years, something disturbing has been happening. The maps are changing. The blue patches that represent wetlands on satellite imagery are shrinking, fading, sometimes disappearing altogether. What was once a vast mosaic of marshes, swamps, and floodplains is becoming fragmented, drained, and converted for other uses. The story of wetland loss begins with something that sounds simple: water management. Humans need water for agriculture, for cities, for industry. Dams are built to control flooding and store water. Canals are dug to divert rivers to farmland. What seems like progress from one perspective creates catastrophe from another. When you alter the natural flow of water, you don't just change where the water goes, you change the entire ecosystem that depends on its rhythm. Consider the jacana's breeding cycle. It's perfectly timed with seasonal floods. When waters rise, new vegetation grows, creating perfect nesting conditions. But when dams prevent these natural floods, the jacana's internal calendar becomes useless. Nests are built at the wrong time. Eggs are laid when there's insufficient cover. The delicate synchronization between life and environment breaks down, then there's the direct destruction. Wetlands are often seen as wastelands, empty spaces waiting to be put to better use. They're drained for agriculture, filled for urban development, polluted by runoff from farms and cities. The lily pads that jacanas walk across absorb toxins from contaminated water. The insects they feed on carry pesticides from nearby fields. It's a slow, invisible poisoning of an entire food web, but perhaps the most overlooked threat is sedimentation. When soil washes into wetlands from deforested or overgrazed lands, it gradually fills the shallow waters. What was once open water becomes mudflat, then dry land. The floating plants that jacanas depend on can't root in thick mud. The transformation happens so gradually that by the time anyone notices, the habitat is already gone. The jacana's response to these changes reveals both its resilience and its vulnerability. These birds are nomadic by nature. When one wetland deteriorates, they move to another. For generations, this strategy worked. But now, the distances between healthy wetlands are growing. The stepping stones are disappearing. Jacanas are being forced into smaller, isolated pockets where competition is fierce and genetic diversity declines. What makes this particularly tragic is that we're losing more than just a fascinating bird. Wetlands are among the most productive ecosystems on Earth. They filter water, store carbon, prevent flooding, and support incredible biodiversity. The jacana is what scientists call an indicator species. Its health reflects the health of the entire wetland system. When jacanas disappear, it's a warning that the ecosystem is collapsing. There are places where the story is changing, however. In several African countries, conservationists are working with local communities to protect and restore wetlands. The approach is surprisingly straightforward. Instead of seeing wetlands as problems to be solved, they're recognizing them as assets to be preserved. Simple interventions like creating buffer zones between farms and wetlands, controlling pollution sources, and maintaining natural water flows can make dramatic differences. In Uganda, for instance, communities that once drained wetlands for agriculture are now being paid to preserve them because of the water purification services they provide. In Zambia, fishermen who once competed with jacanas for resources now protect them because they've learned that healthy jacana populations mean healthy fish stocks. The bird that walks on water is becoming a symbol for a new way of thinking about conservation, one that recognizes the interconnectedness of human and natural systems. The most hopeful developments come from understanding that we don't have to choose between human needs and wetland preservation. Smart water management can provide for people while maintaining natural flows. Sustainable agriculture can reduce pollution while producing food. Urban planning can incorporate natural wetlands rather than paving over them. The solutions exist. What's needed is the will to implement them. When you look at a jacana walking across lily pads, you're witnessing millions of years of evolution, a perfect marriage of form and function. Those extraordinary feat didn't develop overnight. They're the result of countless generations adapting to a specific environment. Losing that environment means losing not just a bird, but a masterpiece of natural engineering. It means silencing a story that took millennia to write. The good news is that wetlands are remarkably resilient. Given half a chance, they can recover. Seeds buried in sediment for decades can sprout when conditions improve. Wildlife can return when pollution decreases. The jacana's incredible mobility means that when habitat is restored, populations can rebound quickly. The question isn't whether recovery is possible, it's whether we'll create the conditions for it to happen. What other species do you think are telling us important stories about ecosystem health? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your suggestion might inspire our next exploration of nature's most vulnerable wonders.